Welcome back. Join us for this episode of the Raleigh Realtors interview series. We have Kristin Nash, Director of Political Financing at NC Realtors, and Ashtyn Gammons, Political Fundraising Manager with NCR. Welcome to you both.
Thank you.
Thanks for having us.
Side note, Kristin, you're the first repeat guest on this interview series. So
Woohoo!
it's a monument event for all of us involved here, but I want to thank both of you for making some time for us today.
Of course.
So for those who may not know, Kristin and Ashtyn, they've both been a tremendous asset in helping RRAR in our advocacy efforts, especially in regards to our investments in RPAC. So before we get into that, let's start with a little get to know you information. Kristin, we'll start with you. Tell us a little bit about yourself and what brought you to NC Realtors.
Sure. Well, as mentioned, I'm the Director of Political Fundraising here at NC Realtors. I am originally from Burlington, North Carolina, right down the road, and I graduated from Appalachian State University. I am married to my wonderful husband, John David, who is also an Appalachian graduate. And we are raising our two little future mountaineers. We have two sons. One is Wesley, who is 7, and the other is Maxwell, who will be 5 in December. I can't believe it. But what brought me to NC Realtors, believe it or not, was, way back when they used to print, jobs in the newspaper. I saw an ad from NC Realtors for a marketing specialist back in 2007. And at the time, I was actually working as a receptionist for a company. It was an MLS company. Some people may remember the name. It was, back then it went by Offutt Systems, and they printed MLS books. And so it was a natural, I felt fit, coming from an MLS company over to the Realtors Association. So I decided to apply. And they took a chance on me back then in 2007. And here I am 17 years later in a different role, but still loving working for this industry.
It's amazing that you've been doing this for such a long time. And I know that they're grateful for all the time served and all the great work that you're currently doing. Ashtyn, same question to you.
Yeah, so I've been with NCR for 2 years now. I originally come from Martinsville, Virginia. For any NASCAR fans, you may have been there 2 weeks ago like me. I grew up in Virginia, so I went to Virginia Tech. I'm a proud Hokie, love getting back there anytime I get the chance. I came to NCR because I was just trying to get to North Carolina as fast as possible. And I worked in Congressman Mark Walker's office back in District 6 in 2020 as an intern. So I love North Carolina. I was trying to get here as fast as I can. I also used to work as a fundraising intern right outside of DC. So I really enjoyed fundraising. So when I saw this job posted, I thought it seemed like a perfect fit for me. I kind of had a history planning events in college. So this seemed like a perfect fit for me, and I've loved it so far. And I hope to be as loved as Kristin is 15 years from now. Got a while to go to get to her level of expertise, but I'm getting there.
You're getting there for sure. I'll have you know, Ashtyn, I didn't make it to the fall race in Martinsville, but I was there this spring. And my dad, he grew up in the southwestern part of Virginia also, so it's his favorite place to go catch a race. And so I've been there many times, just didn't make it this past time, but it's a fun time every time.
It is.
All right, Ashtyn, we'll hand the next question to you. For those who may not fully, for our membership that is not that familiar with RPAC, can you explain the primary mission of RPAC and how it helps support realtors and homeowners in North Carolina?
Absolutely. So the primary mission of NC Realtors PAC is to advocate for policies that protect and advance the interests of realtors, property owners, and the real estate industry in North Carolina. We like to say this is the only PAC that benefits the public. So realtors across the state pool their resources together to support candidates at the federal, state, and local levels, all that understand and advocate for real estate friendly policies. So this collective advocacy effort helps shape legislation that benefits homeowners, preserves private property rights, supports a thriving real estate market, and we just try to advocate for legislation that upholds homeowners' rights ensures fair treatment of housing policies. We like to promote stability and opportunity within the housing market. And another thing we do is try to work towards tax policies that are fair to homeowners. For example, the transfer tax, we try to squash that every time it comes around. Taxes on services always comes back up in the legislature, so that's something that we try to protect against. And just protect property values and economic interests of real estate stakeholders across the state of North Carolina.
That's a lot, man, and that's what, and you know,
It is.
keeps you guys busy, keeps the realtors interested in it for sure. Kristin, Ashtyn touched on some of the tax policies that our RPAC has put work towards. What are some of the other key issues and policies that the NCR team has been focused on throughout 2024 and that you'll have an eye on heading into 2025?
Sure. So yes, this year session started on April 24th and ended on June 28th, and we anticipate returning on November 22nd and December 13th. So this year was our legislative short session. Next year will be the long session. And with this being the second year of the legislative session, only certain bills can be considered by the General Assembly. So bills for consideration include legislation related to the state budget and bills that passed out of the chamber where they were introduced in 2023, just to name a few. And our 2024 legislative priorities really focused on continuing to educate lawmakers on the urgency of North Carolina's housing crisis, in which we did have some success in our short session. One of those important bills was Senate Bill 166. And this is the 2024 Building Code Regulatory Reform. And it has a lot of key points in it, but basically it includes provisions on backflow preventers and septic tanks. And there was another, NCR also helped successfully pass an important bill, House Bill 228, which was the Housing Finance Agency bond changes. And this legislation increases the bond debt limit from $3 billion to $12 billion. And then the bill that I've been most fascinated with this year, just personally, is House Bill 984, which is the removal of squatters and is an outstanding issue that we hope to get addressed when the General Assembly returns later in November. It did advance with overwhelming bipartisan support in the House and is currently in the Senate. The importance of passing this legislation has become even more significant as it is an issue with Western North Carolina in the aftermath of Hurricane Helene. So we're hoping to see more on that before the end of the year. So exciting. The year isn't technically over yet. But we do, we'll have some more, summary updates in the Advocate. We had sent out an e-newsletter from NC Realtors that's focused just on advocacy, and it's called The Advocate. If you haven't seen it, Realtors, look in your inboxes for those and let us know if you're not receiving it, because we do include great updates on what's going on in session in those. And so we'll have at the end of this year a summary of all of our legislative wins from this year, including hopefully some updates on the squatters bill. And then we'll also be able to give you a guide into what we'll be doing in 2025. So be on the lookout for that and stay tuned.
That sounds like a great resource.
Yes, it is. It's wonderful.
All right, fantastic. Ashtyn, another big part of what NCR does is determining the candidates that RPAC supports. Share with our members some of the factors that go into the decisions made on what candidates are chosen.
Right. So at the local level, Realtor members have the opportunity to request funds that are designated to each association to support candidates in their area. This fund is collected from a portion of what they raise for NC RPAC throughout the year. So each association does it kind of differently on how they select these candidates. For example, RRAR does candidate interviews, whereas some other associations, their board will get together and just select these candidates all at once. But essentially candidates are chosen on how they support local realtor issues, if NC RPAC has supported them in the past. And we also ask if the candidate is a realtor on our form. So we do have many realtor members that serve in local government and advocate for the work we do. For state candidates, the trustees make decisions based on voting record, how they have helped us in the past, if they're open to taking meetings with us, and a lot of other factors. But the NC RPAC trustees take all these things into consideration and vote on each candidate and at what level they should be funded. And similarly to that, on the federal level, the NAR RPAC federal disbursement trustees will get together and take recommendations from each respective state's board of trustees and then discuss those recommendations in their funding meetings. So there's a lot of different aspects depending on what level we're talking. But in summary, it's pretty much the same things. How are they going to support our issues? How have they helped us in the past? And are they a friend of the realtors?
Now, I'm only familiar with how we do it in Raleigh, and either one of you can answer this question. Do most local associations do it the way we do, where we interview the candidates, or do most of them do it in a room where they talk about it in either one of your experiences?
Yeah, so it really does vary depending. I know that many associations are kind of getting into that interview process, and that's something that we were able to talk about at our RPAC training a couple years ago. We had some RRAR staff kind of share how you all do things, and I think that was really helpful because you guys have a very great process in play on how you do these things. So I think it can be a good model for some other associations that have no idea how to even begin with an interview process. So I do see it kind of popping up more and more as the years go on. But I think a lot still do just meet with each other, whether it be their RPAC committee, their board, their government affairs committee. Sometimes government affairs and RPAC are the same thing. So for those people, so it really does depend on the association. I wouldn't say there's massively one way or the other.
Sure. I know when that time comes around, though, it's an exciting time for all involved. That's for sure. Kristin, how does NCR measure successes when it comes to influencing state level homeowner policies?
So while our success can be measured in multiple ways, I think the most obvious is our legislative wins and the extensive list that we have behind those. I know we've already talked about a few today. Ashtyn's mentioned a couple, and hopefully we'll have even more after we conclude our short session this year. But I encourage all members to visit our NC Realtors website, which is www.ncrealtors.org, and you can do /legislative wins. And it will take you to a page on our website that has all of our past wins. It's a great resource just to see how, the issues that have, passed and the ones that do affect realtors and the savings, and protection that we're giving all of our realtors throughout the industry and including our clients as well. So that's number one, our legislative wins. But what really makes our advocacy efforts powerful is a strong foundation, which includes a lot of things. Such as lobbying. We have a great lobbying team that goes through every piece of legislation so that we and our members do not have to. They're there to safeguard us from any issues that may arise while decisions are being made and issues are being brought to attention in the state legislature. Also, our grassroots efforts. This involves members and the influential relationships that members have with state lawmakers, whether it's a state political coordinator, which we call SPCs, or you may even have a local political coordinator, our LPCs. And these are just members that have great relationships with these state lawmakers, and they're at the heart of these efforts when we're maintaining these strong relationships and building new ones. So that's very important to have those grassroots efforts. And then, of course, NC RPAC, got to toot our own horn over here for a little bit. But thanks to our dedicated members, we continue to have one of the largest PACs in North Carolina, and our record success has been phenomenal. And even just this past year in the general cycle, we had 96% of our NC RPAC supported candidates that won their races in the general election. We supported 42 Senate candidates, 83 House candidates, 3 Council of State candidates, and 1 judicial, for a total of 129. And out of those, 124 supported candidates won.
Wow.
So that means, yes.
Wow.
Great results. And that means we have a lot of friends in office that will hopefully understand our issues and listen to us when we have an issue arise. Another thing that I want to mention is local supported candidates, because that's just state supported candidates from RPAC. As Ashtyn already mentioned, a portion of every dollar that is given to RPAC by members, a portion of it stays right here at the local level to be used on local candidates. And so I know Raleigh, as we've already talked about, is very active in that. And out of the across the state, 70% of supported candidates for local elections won their races. We supported 66 local candidates across the state with NC Realtors PAC support, and 46 won their races. So I think it's been one of the highest rates that we've had in a couple years. So I'm really proud of that. And I think that is just showing how much it's paying off. Doing your diligence and doing the candidate interviews and getting that background information so we can choose those candidates that will support us. And then local advocacy, while the question relates to state advocacy, it all starts at the local level, and building and maintaining these strong relationships with local officials, connecting early with local officials. Since so many of them become state lawmakers, it's so important to start at the local level to be our industry champions. And then just education, in educating NCR members on the importance of our issues, members educating us. We need members to come to us and say, hey, these are issues that are important to us, and how can we change this, coming up in the next General Assembly or next election cycle. And then all of us just educating our lawmakers on issues that are important to our industry. And then just engaging our members and in the public too on statewide issues. This engagement can come through like our call for actions, such as the homeowners insurance, like CFA that we did earlier this year when they were talking about hiking those up. So as you can see, our success goes beyond just legislative wins. It's relationships and engagement that really that's what's so important.
It truly is. A couple of big takeaways from what you just said there, Kristin. Like those numbers from this election cycle are remarkable. The percentage of ones supported and ones got elected in this most recent cycle. But the legislative wins on the NCR side, I've used that as a way to point towards why members should get involved in RPAC, and our previous GADs have used that as a resource as well. So it's tremendous.
That's wonderful.
Yeah, and with the new GAD coming in, we'll be sure that that's a resource moving forward as well. Last question, and I'll throw this one out to both, either of you, however you want to do it. What are some ways that realtors and our members can support NCR's advocacy efforts beyond the financials?
Sure. I can take the first stab at it, Ashtyn. Well, one, vote. Get out in all elections and make your voice heard. Make sure that you share why it's important to be engaged on these issues to your realtor friends, and to also let your clients know you're fighting for them and their rights as well. Get engaged with us. I'm going to put a shameless plug out there for our legislative day in Raleigh coming up. Before we know it, it'll be on April 9th, 2025. And ask your office to come join you, participate in the legislative process by attending these meetings and getting to know your legislators. It really is a great way to get out and get involved. And I know you all usually do some type of transportation over to the building and support that day so well for us. And we truly appreciate it and love seeing your members come out. So anybody that hasn't experienced that should take advantage of this opportunity and come out. And, you've got people, with you side by side the whole day, kind of showing you the ropes, and you don't have to kind of go at it alone, but it's a great opportunity to learn and engage with your legislators. And then also just get involved in your community. Realtors know so much. They are such a huge part of our communities and play such a huge role. Volunteer with your local communities and neighborhood groups to help amplify our advocacy efforts, and just let them know the issues as well that we're fighting for. Because like Ashtyn said, I love the statement of, we're one of the only PACs that benefits the public. And it's so true. And I think it's so important to, to touch on our communities and to let them know the impact, that we're also, yes, we fight for realtor issues, but we're also protecting, our communities as well.
I think that's the big thing that can be the misconception of the general public, is that the work that the RPAC does is not just for realtors, but it's for home owners as well. And I can vouch for that legislative days. It's a heck of a week. We get a heck of a turnout, and it's truly a great opportunity for members to engage with local politicians. All right, Ashtyn, we'll let you have the final word.
Yeah, so I want to amplify everything Kristin said. Just gonna note also that it's free to register for legislative days, so it comes at no cost to you to come to that. So definitely encourage that. Like she said with the voting, I just want to throw out a plug on Raleigh. Congratulations on this, that 9 out of the 10 local candidates that you supported won their election. So that's fantastic because of realtors like you that went out and voted. So thank you for that. Also, come to the RRAR RPAC committee meetings. These meetings are open. You're welcome to join and just sit in if you're curious about the process. I attend most every of them if I don't have another fundraiser or something to go to. We talk about some really cool stuff, planning our cool events and various fundraisers throughout the year. So those are great ways to get involved. And yeah, I think that's just about it. Kristin nailed a lot of that stuff, really good things. So yeah, there are many ways, but those are some of the easy ones.
That's great. And if any of our members need more information, they can go to our website, rrar.com, and just search up RPAC, and there's plenty of information to be had there. All right, well, that's everything I had for you, Ashtyn and Kristin. Kristin, we always appreciate this time, all the hard work that you both put in for our association and for NCR and the RPAC. So thank you both very much.
Thank you.
Thank you for having us.